don't mind me. I'm the last.
You, and I was gonna get up so you could have my seat. How are you, I'm Dolores?
Yeah, good to see you, Steve.
Okay, excuse me, hold on. Okay. Yeah. Yes, yes, okay, all right. So, I was just telling the director, and I knew Bruce,
Good afternoon. Welcome and thank you for gathering this afternoon. I'm Cheryl Wilson, the Executive Director of the Virginia American Revolution 250 Commission, also known as VA250 for short. Today marks an important moment as we come together to announce exciting statewide plans in store for Virginia from 2024 and beyond. We'd like to take a moment to thank our hosts here at St. John's Church, a truly historic site. After remarks today by the dignitaries that we are honored to have with us, we'll take a few questions from the media, and then we'll all be treated to a special reenactment. But it's my pleasure now to introduce our first speaker. Delegate Dolores McQuinn is a champion of ensuring that all aspects of our complex collective history are at the forefront, that the underknown is known, the untold is told, and that the hidden parts of history are brought to light. She was the driving force behind the development of the Richmond Slave Trail and has received many awards for her tireless work. Delegate McQuinn has answered the call to serve on the VA250 African American Advisory Council, which is led by our chairman, Senator Mamie Locke. With their vision and expertise, we can all rest assured that the commemoration will be meaningful to all Virginians. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Delegate Dolores McQuinn.
Good evening, and thank you, Cheryl, for that warm introduction. And I say to each of you who are here today, welcome to this momentous occasion in the commemoration of the 250th anniversary of the American Revolution and the nation's independence in Virginia. On behalf of Chairman Terry Austin, Vice Chair Mamie Locke, and National Honorary Chair Carly Farino, it is with immense pride that I announced that Governor Youngkin, and I think, let me take my glasses off, then I can see. Yes, okay, Governor. Certainly want to acknowledge your presence and any other elected official. Announced that Governor Youngkin and all 9 living former governors have joined with each member of the Virginia's congressional delegation, the Lieutenant Governor, the Attorney General, the Speaker of the House of Delegates, and the President Pro Tem of the Senate of Virginia, to form Virginia 250 Honorary Leadership Council. I think that deserves an applause. To Governor Youngkin and Governor Allen, who's in the audience, and Honorary Chair Farino, I want to say thank you for your leadership. The extraordinary collaboration of the Honorary Leadership Council embodies the spirit of our time, the bridging the divides and coming together to celebrate the shared values and the sacrifices that shaped our nation. Their various experiences and leadership will be invaluable as we work together to guide the Commission's initiative and ensure a comprehensive and inclusive commemoration throughout Virginia. The key people, the key places, and the key moments that led to our nation's independence all happened in Virginia. Virginia's history is America's history. There's a hunger to better understand our history and to better understand the stories. And people want to see the sites where history occurred. It is the power of place, and it is powerful. I have often remarked that for a long time, not only were Black people's voices not at the table, they were in the room, but often invisible. However, the Virginia 250 commemoration will involve all Virginians in marking these pivotal moments in history and in coming together in a shared spirit of unity for the future, as together we continue the journey to creating a more perfect union. Through diverse programs, educational initiatives, and community events, we strive to spark meaningful conversation about our past and its relevance to the present and the future. This year promises a vibrant calendar of events, including a conference of national 250 planners next month to discuss what Americans are looking for in their 250th anniversary. More than 400 people were gathered at the Colonial Williamsburg, hailing from 35 states and localities across Virginia in a common cause to all. And a grand July the 4th celebration will take place this year at the Virginia State Capitol. There will be something for everyone as we gather to mark the freedoms that we hold so dear. And finally, a mobile museum will be launched that will visit every locality so that all students and citizens can experience all of the history in their community and learn more about the unique stories of each region of the Commonwealth. Throughout the commemoration, we will be exploring diverse narratives, diving into the contribution of often overlooked heroes and sheroes, and highlighting the stories that enrich our understanding of the Revolution. We invite you to join us on this journey of discovery. Explore the full calendar of events happening now across Virginia and find ways to get involved on our website. We encourage you to sign up for our letters and share your own history with us. Together, let us commemorate and celebrate the many milestones, the key places, and the pivotal moments across Virginia that created our nation and secured the rights and the freedom that we all hold so dear. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate McQuinn. I'd like to introduce our commission chairman. Delegate Terry Austin hails from Botetourt, and I want you to know he leads this commission with a sharp vision and a deep pride in Virginia. Together with the vice chair, they provide constant leadership, and that leadership has positioned Virginia as the national leader of the 250th. They work together to ensure that every story, every area of the Commonwealth is highlighted and elevated during this commemoration. Ladies and gentlemen, Delegate Terry Austin.
Thank you, Cheryl. It's an honor to be here today, surrounded by such esteemed leadership as we recognize the formation of the Virginia VA250 Leadership Council. Together, we are committed to ensuring a commemoration that is comprehensive, meaningful, and reaches every corner of our Commonwealth of Virginia and every Virginian. The echoes of Patrick Henry's liberty or death speech remind us that unity and shared purpose fueled our revolution. That same spirit guides us today. Governor Youngkin's dedication to the commemoration shines bright as we understand the power of history to shape our future. His vision and leadership are essential to ensuring every Virginian, regardless of background, helps connect with the monumentous occasion. And now, representing the VA250's Honorary Leadership Council, it is my honor to introduce the 74th Governor of Virginia, His Excellency, Governor Glenn Youngkin.
Thank you. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Chairman Austin, and thank you to all Virginians for joining us today. My fellow Virginians, what a great honor it is to join you. What a great honor it is to join you right here at St. John's Church, and to be able to speak words, echo words that my new friend Patrick Henry could not have said 249 years ago. But today, I can. My fellow Americans, what a great honor it is to join you. Today, we celebrate the renewal of the great American experiment. And I want to add my deep expression of gratitude to everyone who has been engaged with the preparation for this event and for the many events in the years to come. Chairman Austin, Chair Fiorina, Cheryl Wilson, and by the way, we should say Cheryl Wilson twice, Delegate McQuinn, members of the commission, thank you for your leadership and thank you for your partnership. Importantly, I want to thank the members of this congregation and the stewards of this church for preserving what today we see as living, breathing history that we can meet in once again. And I would like to again add another dimension as part of the legacy of governors who have already served and yet are willing to serve again. And it is with that recognition, and it is not about Republicans and Democrats, but it is about Virginians and Americans. And therefore, I am so honored to have with us, of course, the former First Lady and Governor Allen. Thank you both for being here. This is about the spirit of Virginia, the spirit of America that gets passed on from one generation to the next throughout time. Now, for those of you who know me, you know that I'm a proud Virginian, and the history of Virginia surrounds us daily. Our First Lady, Suzanne, and I have the great privilege of living in a home, well, maybe it's a large home, that was procured by James Monroe. And as I walk down the front steps every morning, I first thank the Lord for placing me there. I ask him for help, and then I gaze at our Capitol, a Capitol that was designed by Thomas Jefferson, that houses a statue of George Washington at its center. And I take a right, and I go work with so many committed Virginians in a building that bears the name of Patrick Henry. 249 years ago, this church was smaller. I dare say maybe the glass was a bit clearer. And yet what transpired changed the world. It changed Virginia, the crucible of democracy. What transpired sparked the flame of revolution that forged a new nation. A nation that was not founded on a geography, but was a nation that was founded on an idea, a basic truth that there are certain unalienable rights that are granted to us by God Almighty. Unalienable rights like life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, rights that aren't granted by a king or a dictator, but in fact rights that not only have to be won, but defended. A basic truth that established a new nation to pursue a more perfect union. A constant pursuit that has seen the need from that time through today. Delegates gathered. They gathered here for the Second Virginia Convention to debate Virginia's role in that mounting conflict with King George. When Patrick Henry delivered those words, which I anticipate we may hear again later today, I know not what course others may take, but as for me, give me liberty or give me death. These words sparked a flame. They ignited an emotion, and they brought together Virginians who were there in attendance, from George Washington and Thomas Jefferson to 5 fellow Virginians who would later sign our Declaration of Independence. Later that June, George Washington would be appointed commander of the Continental Army. The next year, Thomas Jefferson would craft our Declaration of Independence. And of course, on July 4th, 1776, the voice of Patrick Henry and the sword of George Washington and the pen of Thomas Jefferson would come together. And many who were here on that most important day, 249 years ago in March, signed the Declaration of Independence, forever changing the course of history. With their signatures, they signed away any claim to their lives as they knew them, pledging their honor, holding fast to the belief that this moment was not just revolutionary, it was visionary. Give me liberty or give me death, all or nothing. And while we were indeed a nation founded by imperfect men in pursuit of a more perfect union, and yes, our nation truly failed to live up to the very essence of this idea that all men are created equal. It is this idea that drives us in that pursuit to make America more and more perfect each day. Here, there is an observation that I would like to share about this place. This church is on a hill. It's on a hill, and therefore it's closer to the sun. And I believe our founders felt this vision deep inside, a vision that we were to be that proverbial shining city on a hill, or we were to be nothing at all. And as I personally reflect on our history, on Virginia's history, and on our nation's history, I see clearly the mighty role that courage and conviction played in determining our path, in pushing us to pursue a better future for all. And again, we are reminded that it was these unalienable rights that we fought for: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And in this next generation, I pray daily that we have the courage and the conviction to continue that pursuit. We are uniquely fortunate as Virginians to once again take the lead as our nation prepares to celebrate our 250th anniversary. As you have just heard so eloquently, Virginia's history is America's history. It's our collective history, and together we will forge our collective future. This is why both this commission and the work it will undertake are so important. If you love history, come to Virginia. You go to Williamsburg and Yorktown, where our Revolutionary War was won. You visit sites that put you in the room where it happened. I could think of no better place than St. John's Church to celebrate this next chapter. This is a special place, and this next chapter is defined by reconfirming our commitment to that founding spirit, the spirit of Virginia and the spirit of America. This is where it all began, with a spark on a hill. In no small part, due to the dedication and the commitment and the support of everyone in this room and people across the Commonwealth, we will commemorate and we will celebrate these events, and we will remember where we have come from. The vibrant glows of victory won, and the dark truths of a nation's failings. The heroic moments between then and now that put us further along this collective pursuit of that more perfect union. The next 250 years will come, and united with that same universal mission, ignited by that same spark, the light of America will shine even brighter. May God bless you, and may He bless the United States of America. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor Youngkin, First Lady Suzanne Youngkin, for your leadership, your commitment to Virginia, and your inspiration. We're honored. It's my privilege to introduce the VA250 National Honorary Chair, Carly Fiorina. Carly Fiorina is an extraordinary leader in both the public and the private sectors. The first woman to lead a Fortune 50 company, Carly is known for her business acumen, strategic initiatives, insightful vision, but more than anything, ability to deliver results. She's committed to the belief that citizens and leaders in a civil society have a vital role and an enormous opportunity to drive positive change. In addition to serving as chair of the Colonial Williamsburg Foundation's Board of Directors, Carly has dedicated untold hours of her time, her vision, and her passion to VA250. And without a doubt, Virginia's 250th will be better for her leadership. Ladies and gentlemen, Carly Fiorina.
Thank you, Cheryl, so much for that gracious introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all so much for being here. I stand between you and Patrick Henry, so I will try to be relatively brief. But I think, as is obvious from the many eloquent remarks you have heard today, and from the eminent speakers you have heard from, that Virginia 250 is a broad-based, bipartisan effort in which people are truly committed and passionate about the potential to pull Virginians, and indeed Americans, together. It is our commitment, our promise, that not only will we tell Virginia's history because it is America's story, but that we will tell the whole story. And in that regard, I want to introduce you to one other eminent member of our leadership team who is here, Chief Atkins, who is chief of the Chickahominy tribe. Chief Atkins leads our Tribal Nations Leadership Advisory Council, yet another commitment on our part to telling the whole story. You know, it is important to us as individuals, as families, as communities, to know who we are and where we came from. We understand it's important to know who we are and where we came from, because without that knowledge of our past, that connection to our past, we feel unmoored, untethered. We feel as though we do not know how to move forward confidently in our present or our future. What is true of a family, what is true of a community, is true of a nation. And I believe one of the reasons so many people are dedicating their time and their energy, certainly it is true of me, but not simply me, to this effort, is because we realize that it is particularly important now, in this moment, for Virginians and for Americans to learn, to hold on to who we are and where we come from. As the governor so beautifully put it, this is a nation founded not on ethnicity, not on religion, not on territory. This is a nation founded on ideas, ideals, principles, and a system of government. And when Americans and Virginians no longer understand what those ideals are or where they come from, or how we have struggled to achieve them, when we no longer understand our system of government, or what even our role as citizens to form a more perfect union is, when we lose track of those things, and all the data says we are, we lose touch with why we are Americans. And of course, when that happens, we come apart at the seams. we become more tribal. We will always be a fractious, restless nation that disagrees about many things, but we must always be a nation that remembers that we are first and foremost Americans. And so the goal of the Virginia 250 Commission is first to educate, because too many do not know all of the stories, all of the struggles, all of the triumphs that led to this amazing nation. And we will educate, as you've heard, throughout the entire Commonwealth. Our mission as well is to engage with every community and every locality. It is why our mobile museum will go to every middle school in Virginia. It is why every locality in Virginia also has 250 planning commissions and community members who are getting engaged now to make sure that their stories are discovered and told. And because this is Virginia, and because Virginia's history is America's story, literally every community, every locality has something amazing to share about how we as a nation came to be. And finally, our goal as the Virginia 250 Commission is to engage, or perhaps with some, to re-engage and to re-inspire citizens to remember who we are. In this country, it is citizens who are sovereign. And in this country, it is up to citizens to work each day to form a more perfect union. And so our vision is that as we celebrate July 4th, 2026, that there will not simply be fireworks and tall ships, although there will be many fireworks and many tall ships, and maybe even a commemorative whiskey or two. Because I didn't know this until a month or two ago, it was Virginia that celebrated first with fireworks, and it was Virginia where the first whiskey was distilled, demonstrating yet again that Virginia is the crucible of the nation. But on July 4th, in addition to fireworks and tall ships and whiskey, we also hope that Virginians, indeed Americans across the country, will join with those citizens who are being naturalized and raise their right hand and take the oath of citizenship once again, to recommit that while we may be a fractious, restless nation, while we may disagree about many things, that we are first and foremost so fortunate to be Americans, and that our role is always to work each and every day to form a more perfect union. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your commitment to this commemoration over the next 3 years, 24, 25, 26. Fair warning, this is not the last time we will ask you, and so we are delighted by your demonstration of commitment today. Thank you so very much for joining us.
Thank you, Chair Fiorina. I'm Mike Frontiero, Chief Communications Officer for Virginia 250. Before we move to the next part of our program, I'd like to offer the media an opportunity to ask some questions of our speakers. If you have a question, please raise your hand, state who you are and who you're with. Seeing none, we'll move on. I'd now like to invite our host from St. John's Church to share some closing remarks before we witness a very powerful historical reenactment that you won't want to miss.
Good afternoon. My name is Reverend Amelie Wilmer, and I am the rector here at St. John's. On behalf of the congregation, I am delighted to welcome our governor, our friends at the Virginia 250th Commission, our honored guests, and all of you who are here with us today, both in person and online. Our congregation was founded as the Henrico Parish in 1611, And we built this church in 1741, not long after the city of Richmond was founded. We are the oldest church in Richmond, and we have been worshiping here ever since. We are an active, diverse, and inclusive Episcopal church, and you are welcome to come back anytime to join us for worship on Sundays. All are welcome in this sacred and historic place. I would now like to introduce Stephen Wilson, who is the Executive Director of the St. John's Church Foundation.
Well, thank you, Reverend Wilmer. My name is Stephen Wilson. I am the Executive Director for the St. John's Church Foundation. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We have been around since 1938. Our mission is focused in two key areas. Number one, education. We educate the public on the importance of Patrick Henry's "Give me liberty or give me death" speech and its impact on the American Revolution and beyond. And number two, historic preservation. We solicit private financial support in order to continue to be able to preserve this national historic landmark and this very special treasure here in Virginia. On behalf of our Board of Trustees, and I see many of you out there, I want to welcome all of our special guests here today, including Governor Youngkin and our friends at the Virginia 250 Commission. With all of that said, who wants to see a reenactment? Who wants to see a reenactment? All right, good. Well, I am the only thing holding you from that. So I have the distinct privilege of being able to introduce the delegate from James City County. He is the treasurer of the colony of Virginia. I have lost sight of him, but I know that Robert Carter Nicholas is out there somewhere. Delegate Nicholas, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Stephen. Welcome. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Richmond. Welcome to St. John's Church. Welcome to March 23, 1775. Almost 249 years ago. Now, 249 years ago, the capital of Virginia was over in Williamsburg. So, why are we holding this convention here in Richmond? Simple answer. Just last summer, Lord Dunmore, our royal governor, dissolved our House of Burgesses, leaving Virginia with effectively no government, because he didn't like the things that we were saying. And since he wouldn't have approved of us holding this meeting, well, we decided to hold it here in Richmond at this church. It was a safe 50 miles away from Williamsburg. That's 2 days by horseback. And would have given us ample opportunity to disperse if the governor had sent his troops to arrest us. And Richmond at that time, it was a small town. 600 people. And this church was the only building that could hold the 120 delegates coming from all over Virginia. It was helpful that the Reverend Miles Selden, he was the rector, the minister here at the church. And the two Henrico delegates to this convention, well, they were vestrymen here at the church, Richard Adams and Samuel Duvall. Well, that explains why we're in Richmond. It explains why we're here at St. John's Church. Now, the big question is, what caused these men to take this extraordinary, extra-legal, dangerous action? You know, John Adams, he said that the real American Revolution happened in the hearts and the minds of the people long before the fighting ever began. The divide between England and the colonies, it had been growing for quite some time. One of the big issues of the day, who has the right to tax the colonies? Is it our own elected government? Yeah, the House of Burgesses, Lord Dunmore disbanded? Or is it Parliament, sitting 3,000 miles away in London, where we had no elected representatives to speak up for us? England was, well, they were prohibiting our westward expansion. They passed the Stamp Act, they passed the Townshend Act, and they were ignoring the pleas of the colonies, pushing the colonies into greater and greater defiance. We had the Boston Massacre, and we had the Boston Tea Party. And then England passed the Intolerable Acts. Under the Intolerable Acts, right now, right this moment, out of Massachusetts, Boston Harbor's closed by a blockade of British warships. The right of the people of Boston to gather and assemble, just as we are here, it was greatly restricted. Their right to a trial by jury of their peers was suspended in some cases. Oh, here's something to think about. Private homeowners were being forced against Commonwealth was elected to be the president of this convention, you know, the First Continental Congress up in Philadelphia last summer, they elected him to be its president. And the other elected delegates were the leading statesmen of the colony. We had Colonel George Washington, or Thomas Jefferson, Richard Henry Lee, Edmund Pendleton, Thomas Nelson Jr., Benjamin Harrison, Robert Carter Nichols. And there was a gentleman here, a country lawyer from just up here in Hanover County, a fellow by the name of Patrick Henry. He was here too. These men were the elites of the colony. As a body, they formed what was the House of Burgesses, what we think of today as the House of Delegates. And we here in Virginia, we were, and we still are, proud of the fact that our House of Burgesses, now the House of Delegates, which first sat in 1619, is the oldest elected legislative body in the Western Hemisphere. And it still sits today as the House of Delegates in the Virginia General Assembly. Now, to be a member of the House of Burgesses back then, you had to be white, you had to be a man, and you had to own lots of property. And if you owned lots of property in Virginia at this time, you also likely owned the people who worked on your property. We acknowledge that nearly all of these men enslaved their workers, and all profited from the practice. So, how did they reconcile their struggle for liberty against the taxes and oppression of Parliament and the king, while at the same time denying liberty to others by enslaving their workers? Well, you'll hear this contradiction today in Patrick Henry's speech, when he will claim that England is threatening the colonies with chains and slavery. You know, Patrick Henry himself, he said in a letter just 2 years ago, 1773, he said, "Would anyone believe that I am a master of slaves of my own purchase, I will not, I cannot justify it." He knew it was wrong, and yet he did nothing to free those that he enslaved, either during his during his life or after his death in his will. Like many, he chose to live with this contradiction and convenience, and he did nothing to change it. But for Patrick Henry and for these delegates in March of 1775, this was a time of imminent danger and distress, with the very real and present danger posed by the redcoats, by the ships blockading our harbors, and by the increasing hostilities between England and the colonies, and the very real question, what to do about it? Is Virginia, are these men up to the task? Well, we're about to go back in time and join them and find out. We are, in fact, going back in time. Now, I will assume the role of Robert Carter Nicholas, and each of you here today, you're not just spectators. Each of you has a role to play, because each of you is a delegate elected by your county to speak up for them. And any matter that comes before the House for a vote, you're going to have to make a decision, vote aye or nay. In fact, if you hear something you approve of, say something. Now, it has to be appropriate to the time. Something like, "Hear, hear, sir," or "Well spoken, sir." And if the president has to call you to order, now you have to obey. Now, my understanding is that this Patrick Henry has a resolution proposal for the consideration of the House. Please listen carefully to the arguments for and against. This hasn't happened yet. You don't know how this is going to come out. How would you have voted back in that day? Really? You have an important decision to make with your vote, a choice between loyalty to the king or, liberty. All right, I think it's time we assumed our role. All those in favor of ringing the church bell, summoning this convention to be opened, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? The ayes have it. Let the church bell be rung.
Is all in order here, gentlemen? Aye. Let this convention be declared open. I will now read the minutes of yesterday. Minutes of March the 22nd in the year of our Lord 1775. Pursuant to order, the convention met according to adjournment to consider the proceedings of the Continental Congress. A resolution was offered, considered, and adopted entirely and cordially approving the proceedings of the Continental Congress. The convention then adjourned until the day at 10 o'clock.
Mr. President,
Sir Thomas Jefferson, the gentleman from Albemarle County.
I move that the minutes as read be approved.
The minutes have been moved and seconded. All in favor will say aye. Aye. Those opposed? The minutes are adopted. Let the proceedings for this day begin. The floor is now open to new business.
Mr. President,
Mr. Patrick Henry, the gentleman from Hanover County.
I have a resolution to present.
Proceed, sir.
Thank you, sir. Resolved that a well-regulated militia composed of gentlemen and yeomen is the natural strength and only security of a free government. That such a militia would forever render it unnecessary for the mother country to keep among us any standing army of mercenary forces, and would obviate the pretext of taxing us for their support. That the establishment of such a militia is at this time peculiarly necessary for the protection and defense of the country, and that the no remissness of the government in calling us together in legislative capacity renders it too insecure in this time of danger and distress to rely that any provision will be made to secure our inestimable rights and liberties from those further violations with which they are threatened.
But this means war.
Resolve, therefore, that this colony be immediately put into a state of defense, and that a committee be named by this convention to prepare a plan for embodying, arming, and disciplining such a number of men as may be sufficient for that purpose.
Patience, Mr. Henry.
Yes, sir.
Patience, sir. Patience.
Mr. Richard Henry Lee, the gentleman from Westmoreland County.
I rise to second the resolutions of the gentleman from Hanover. I think they are timely and highly important.
Thank you for your second,
Don't
sir.
be rash, sir. This is nothing short of a declaration of war.
Oh, it's Mr. Henry who's being rash. Why, at this time, the mother country is highly sympathetic.
Sympathetic when British ships blockade our harbor. Mr. President.
Gentlemen, Mr. Lee has the floor.
Sir, we must remain loyal to the king.
Sir, I yield to no man in proper loyalty to the king, but a king that fails to protect the rights of his subjects breaks the sacred covenant with his people.
Come now, Mr. Lee.
I will not agree to sacrifice a single particle of our inalienable privileges to any person on this earth. We use but a natural right in making provisions for our protection. We mean no aggression, no violence, no treason, but if the ministerial powers in England regard our actions as such, then on them will fall the responsibility of the course they have taken.
But the course you suggest will mean war.
I hate to contemplate war with the mother country.
Hear, hear.
And I know our weaknesses. But gentlemen, has not nature come to our aid by spreading 3,000 miles of ocean between us and her? Sir, if we do have our disadvantages, so does England. She will be at a vast disadvantage to have to transport armies and supplies over so great a distance in the event of war. But even if the probable calculations are against us, I will still say with Shakespeare, our immortal bard, what stronger breastplate than a heart untainted? Thrice is he armed who has his quarrel just, and he but naked though locked up in steel, whose conscience with injustice is corrupted.
Mr. President. Be patient, Mr. Lee.
Mr. Benjamin Harrison, the gentleman from Charles City County.
I raise my voice in opposition to the resolutions at this time.
Hear, hear.
I think they are rash and poorly timed. By the response from England, as we all know, is that our petition to the king passed to the Continental Congress has been graciously received. No sufficient time has come for a reply to come to us.
Sir, you know well that Mr. Lee's received reliable word that the king will reject our request.
There has been no official word from the king. We must not be hasty.
I am as more a friend of liberty as any man at this convention, and as little disposed to submit. But national civility and filial respect demand that we do nothing hastily.
Hear, hear.
Offer no provocation. I speak as a farmer. For the planters of Charles City County, and I deplore any step that reduce the production of tobacco and corn, and reduce the people of Virginia to starvation.
Starvation indeed, sir. And what of the brave people of Boston?
Sir, I represent Charles City County, not Boston.
We'll be here soon enough, sir.
Mr. President.
Mr. Thomas Jefferson, the gentleman from Albemarle County.
Sir. Gentlemen, Virginia is bound both by self-interest and honor to share one fate with our sister colonies. I recognize no allegiance to Parliament, only to the king. And the colonies are tied to England by their ties
Gentlemen, I hope this convention will proceed slowly before rushing Virginia into war. Now I ask you, is this the moment to plunge into rash measures and discuss our friends in England who are working to repeal these unfair taxes which afflict us?
Hear him.
To extinguish all the conspiring sympathies that are working in our favor. Turn their friendship into hatred, a pity into revenge. Are we ready for war? Are we ready for tyranny? Where, sir, are our arms? Where are our supplies? Where are our soldiers? Where are our monies? The very sinews of war. Aye, they are nowhere to be found. Insufficient force or abundance so as to give us any reasonable hope of a successful resistance.
Hear him.
Why, in truth, gentlemen, we are poor and defenseless, and must strike only when it becomes absolutely necessary, not before.
Hear him.
And yet, these gentlemen who favor the resolutions talk of assuming the posture of war, assuming it too against a great nation, one of the most formidable in all of the world, a nation that is ready and armed on every point, her navies sailing in triumph on every sea, her armies always marching confident of victory.
Aye.
Gentlemen, let us speak patience. Let us allow all reasonable delay, and then, if the worst comes to the worst, we will have no feelings of blame.
This is no time for timid measures.
Sir, there is no man in this convention more attached to the liberties of this colony than the man who addresses you. But, sir, we must think first before we sacrifice perhaps everything to a spirit of indignation and revenge. Consider the strength and the luster we derive from our connection with Great Britain.
Aye.
But the domestic comforts that are drawn from that same source, our ties of trade and business, the friends and relatives still living in England.
Indeed.
You see, these tyrannies for which we suffer are, after all, the tyrannies of a party in temporary possession.
Excellent point,
Give
sir.
them time, sir. Take no hostile action, and these evil ministers in England will be
Indeed
overthrown.
they will. Indeed
Men
they
in
will.
sympathy with America will assume authority. Our ills will pass away, and the glorious days of old will come back. You're a dreamer, sir. We must arm, you say. Gentlemen must remember that blows are apt to follow the arming, and bloodshed will follow the blows. And when this occurs, we shall cry havoc, let's let the dogs of war, our friends will become our enemies, and this flourishing country will be swept by a tornado of death and destruction.
Well spoken, sir. Well spoken indeed. Mr. President.
Robert Carter Nicholas, a gentleman from James City County.
Sir. I agree heartily. The gentleman from Carolina, I consider the resolutions of the gentleman from Hanover to be hasty and rash and unreasonable, sir.
Indeed.
The motion pushes too far. We should strive to correct error.
Indeed.
Not to alter or destroy our ties with the mother country. But more than this, I consider the militia on which the gentleman depends to be wholly insufficient.
You're here.
It would prove the bane of the war into which the gentleman from Hanover seeks to hurry us. Oh, no, Mr. President. I hope these alarming military resolutions are voted down because we speak for peace.
Ladies and gentlemen.
War, unless war is actually forced upon us.
But sir, war is being forced upon us. Right now the British have sent a hostile army and navy to subdue Boston.
Indeed, Mr. Henry, and this, sir, is Virginia.
Mr. President.
If we provoke them.
Mr. Thomas Nelson, a gentleman from York County.
Gentlemen, I am a merchant in Yorktown. I derive much profit from my trade with England. But why should we raise up our fortunes that they may be taken from us at the leisure of
Gentleman from Fairfax County, Colonel George Washington.
Mr. President, gentlemen, the taking up of arms should always be a last resort. But can any honorable man scruple or hesitate to take up arms to protect such a precious thing as liberty? Is it not as clear as the sun in its noontime brightness that certain provisions must be made for proper arms and ammunition for the public good? Yes, I admit, the training of our militia has been greatly neglected. So, I willingly, for we assume command of Virginia's forces indeed, it is my intention to offer up my life and my fortune in pursuit of our cause, if necessary. Gentlemen, the sword of our defense is forged upon the anvil of necessity. I strongly urge the resolutions before us today be adopted.
We must seek accommodations from the king.
Mr. President.
The gentleman from Hanover County, Mr. Patrick Henry.
Thank you, sir. No man thinks more highly than I do of the patriotism as well as the abilities of the very worthy gentleman who just addressed the House. But different men often see the same subject in different lights.
Indeed.
And therefore, I would hope it would not be disrespectful of those gentlemen if entertaining as I do opinions of a character very opposite to theirs. I shall speak with my sentiments freely and without reserve.
Oh, that you will, Henry, that you will.
This is no time for ceremony. The question before the House is one of awful moment to this country. For my part, I consider it nothing less than a question of freedom or slavery.
Mr. Henry!
In proportion to the magnitude of the subject ought to be the freedom of the debate. It is only in this way we hope to arrive at the truth and fulfill the great responsibility which we hold to God and our country. Should I keep back my opinions at such a time through fear of giving offense? I would consider myself guilty of treason toward my country and of an act of disloyalty toward the majesty of heaven, which I revere above all earthly kings.
Amen.
Mr. President, it is natural for man to indulge in the illusions of hope.
Illusions indeed.
We are apt to shut our eyes against a painful truth and listen to the song of the siren until she transforms us into beasts. But is this the part of wise men, engaged in an arduous struggle for liberty? Are we disposed to be among the number of those who, having eyes, see not, having ears, hear not, those things which so nearly concern our temporal salvation? For my part, whatever anguish of spirit it might cost, I am willing to know the whole truth, to know the worst, and provide for it. I have but one lamp by which my feet are guided, and that is the lamp of experience. I have no way of judging the future, but by the past. And I wish to know what there has been in the conduct of the British ministry for the past 10 years to justify these hopes which gentlemen have been pleased to solace themselves in this House. Could it be that insidious smile which our petitions have been so lately received? Trust it not, sir. It will prove a snare unto your feet. Suffer not yourselves to be betrayed by a kiss. Ask yourselves how this gracious reception of this petition comports with these warlike preparations which cover our waters and darken our lands. Our fleets and armies necessary for a work of love and reconciliation? Have we shown ourselves so unwilling to be reconciled that force must now be brought in to win back our love? Let us not deceive ourselves, sir. These are the implements of war and subjugation, the last argument to which kings resort. I ask, gentlemen, sir, what means this martial array of its purpose be not to brought us into submission? Can gentlemen assign any other possible motive for it? Has Great Britain any enemy in this quarter of the world to call for this accumulation of navies and armies?
Now see here, Mr.
No, sir, she has none. They are meant for us. They can be meant for no other. They are sent over to bind and rivet upon us the chains which the British ministry have been so long forging. And what have we to oppose them? subject of every light of which it's capable, but it has all been in vain. Shall we resort to entreaty and humble supplication? But what terms shall we find that have not already been exhausted? I beseech you, sir, let us not deceive ourselves any longer. We have done everything which could be done to avert the storm which is now coming on. We have petitioned. We have remonstrated. We have supplicated. We have prostrated ourselves before the foot of the throne and implored its interposition to arrest the tyrannical hands of the ministry and parliament. Our petitions have been slighted.
That is not true.
Our remonstrances have produced additional violence and insult. Our supplications have been disregarded,
No, sir.
and we have been spurned with contempt from the foot of the throne.
Careful, Mr.
In vain after these things shall we indulge the fond hope of peace and reconciliation, or expect relief from a king who has become a tyrant, a fool, a puppet, and a tool of ministry.
Order in the House.
For shame, sir.
Order.
Nor can hope be vested any longer in the British people. There are no Englishmen, no Scots, no Britons, only a set of wretches, sunk in luxury, cowards who've lost their natural courage and can no longer look the brave Americans in the face. There is no longer any room for hope, sir. If we wish to be free, if we wish to preserve and violate those inestimable privileges for which we have been so long contending, if we mean not basely to abandon the noble struggle for which we have been so long engaged, and to which we have pledged ourselves never to abandon until the glorious object of our contest be attained, then we must fight. I repeat it, sir. We must fight and appeal to arms until the God of hosts is all that is left for us.
Arms, Mr. Henry. What arms?
Speak up. Weak. Gentlemen, let Henry speak.
They tell us, sir, that we are weak, unable to cope with so formidable an adversary.
Indeed.
But when shall we be stronger? Will it be the next week? Or the next year? Will it be when we are totally disarmed, when the British guards shall be stationed in every house? Shall we gather strength through irresolution and inaction? Shall we acquire the means of effectual resistance by lying supinely on our back, hugging the delusive phantom of hope until our enemies are bound us hand and foot? Sir, we are not weak. If we make a proper use of those things which the God of nature hath placed in our power, 3 millions of people, armed in the holy cause of liberty, and in such a country as that which we possess, are invincible by any force our enemy may send against us. Besides, sir, we shall not fight our battles alone. There is a just God who presides over the destinies of nations, who will raise up friends to fight our battles for us. The battle is not to the strong alone. It is to the vigilant, the active, the brave. Besides, so we have no election. If we were base enough to desire, it is too late to retire from the contest. There is no retreat, but in submission or slavery. Our chains are forged. Their clanking may be heard upon the plains of Boston. The war is inevitable.
No, sir.
And I say, let it come. I repeat it, sir. Let it come.
But, sir, we offer peace.
Peace. It is in vain to extenuate the matter. Gentlemen may cry, peace, peace. But there is no peace. The war has actually begun. The next gale that sweeps the north will bring to our ears the clash of resounding arms. Our brethren are already in the field. Why stand we here idle? What is it the gentlemen wish? What would they have? Is life so dear, or peace so sweet, as to be purchased at the price of chains and slavery? For
resolutions proposed by Mr. Patrick Henry of Hanover County to establish a militia and arm the colony of Virginia. The chair requests that every delegate, weigh your decision carefully. All those in favor of Mr. Henry's resolution to arm this colony will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
The ayes have it. The resolutions are adopted. Mr. Henry, you're hereby made chairman of the committee in question. This committee is charged with preparing a plan for this proposed militia. If there is no further business, this house is adjourned until 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. Thank you, gentlemen.
May God save Virginia.
Now, of course, the convention went on for several days. A great deal of business was discussed, but the highlight of the convention, without question, was Patrick Henry's speech. No, Patrick Henry, well, he used his masterful arguments, his skilled oratory, to call his fellow delegates to action. And I have to tell you, folks, the vote that day was extremely close. Of the 120 delegates here that day, his resolutions passed by only 5 votes. But the wisdom of Mr. Henry and of the convention was proven not 27 days later, when the first shots were fired at Lexington and Concord. The war for our liberties had in fact already begun. And Patrick Henry's speech, it had national implications. Not only did his liberty or death serve as a rallying cry for the revolution and beyond, but more importantly, by securing Virginia's support for the resistance, he made sure the American Revolution was more than just this little regional conflict up in New England. Of course, George Washington, he went on to lead our forces to victory in the Revolution, and Thomas Jefferson, he wrote the Declaration of Independence. And Patrick Henry went on to become the first in a long line of elected governors to an armed and an independent Virginia. Folks, I'm going to ask you to please hold your applause until they're all gathered in front of you one last time. I just want to introduce for you again the Second Virginia Convention of March 1775.
Peyton Randolph, President of your convention, Williamsburg.
Edmund Pendleton, Caroline County.
Benjamin Harrison,